Yo, what is up, guys? You know the deal. This is Talkin TV. I am Chris. Usually I'm joined by Dom, and while he will be missed, I'm actually excited to get a word in tonight. So, welcome to the stream. This is sort of an impromptu show. Basically, I don't really know how I've been feeling about it, but I've been watching Country every week and almost calling it Lovecraft County every week. And so I just decided, I see a lot of people like some of the guests, spoiler alert, that I'm about to bring in doing these week to week show coverings. And I'm kind of like, well, I'm watching the shows and I'm on YouTube. Why am I not doing this? So, you know, they say that mimicry is the sincerest form of flattery. And so I decided to start doing this. And of course, I couldn't do it alone because, let's be honest, I don't know how these guys talk to themselves, and it's pretty difficult. But we don't have that issue tonight. So before we bring in the guests, and they are pretty great guests and familiar faces to any of you who are familiar with what we do here on Talkin TV, allow me to tell you, if it's your first time finding us, what Talkin TV is. So Talkin TV is a podcast hosted by myself, the TV nerd, and my partner, Dominic Rizzi, aka the movie nerd, where every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday we release content covering more recently video games, but our bread and butter is TV, film. We've been recently covering Lovecraft Country. We are putting an episode out this Wednesday on Cobra Kai. We host watch-alongs. Speaking of watch-alongs and keeping it in the Karate Kid universe, we're doing a Karate Kid watch-along, the original, and that's just like a small snippet of what we do. We have a lot planned coming down the pipeline, and we're excited to keep just pumping out content for you guys. So again, if this is your first time here, be sure to find us on Instagram, Facebook. That is Talkin TV Podcast, TALKIN, no G podcast. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And also turn on that bell for notifications, because I think at this point it's not secret knowledge that, the subscribe button, while it is important, it doesn't really matter because of how many people are creating on YouTube. So you got to hit that notification bell for us. It would mean a lot. And we're pretty consistent. We always have a lot of good stuff coming. So I think you will get an equal end of the bargain out of it. So without further ado, we are here tonight talking about Holy Ghost, the third installment of HBO's newest series, the wildest ride I've seen from them in quite some time, Lovecraft Country. And I couldn't do it alone. So allow me to introduce my guests, starting with the one and only David of Flix Talk. What's going on, David?
What's going on, man? Hey, glad to be back here. It seems like such a long time, right? And Cobra Kai, by the way, dude, Cobra Kai is so badass. I have not seen. Are you guys talking season 2 or season 1, or what are you guys talking?
So what we did was we did sort of like a little bit of a recap on the first 2 seasons, kind of like our general thoughts to lay the groundwork for season 3. So if you catch up, we'd love to have you on that conversation. We're trying to make it an event.
That's a challenge. Yeah.
So
I will try. I will be up for the challenge this week. I'm now that it's on Netflix, I will check it out for you. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, man. Lovecraft Country, and I say county all the time too, and I catch myself just saying it throughout like our reviews and stuff like that. But it's something that I've been loved talking with Elliot. We had Q reviews last week. It's just been a fun show. And I can finally say that, yes, it is like different every single episode, but I'm loving it. And last night's episode, man, it held up, and I can't wait to talk with you guys.
Right, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't quite know what to make of it, except that I can't wait for next week's episode. So I'm assuming that's a good thing. But David, before we toss it over to our next guest, where can the people find you? Where can they follow you, subscribe, and check out all the cool things you do over at Flix Talk?
Oh, yeah. YouTube at Flix Talk, FLIX Talk, as well as Instagram at Flix Talk. And I'm on Twitter and Facebook now at Flix Talk Podcast. Drop the podcast, but I would think about getting back into that as far as like uploading it to Spotify and stuff like that. Because sometimes these lengthy ones that we do every week, people are like, I didn't catch you on YouTube, but I'm kind of listening in the background. So I'm like, let's just upload the audios again, So why not? You guys do that too, right?
Yeah, you'd be surprised, man. It just keeps the ball rolling,
I got to get back into it. But yeah, you guys can follow me on my social medias there. I'm also streaming this on my YouTube, so you guys will find all the links in the description down below. We're kind of doing the double dipping here, if you will. And what I like to do on my channel, guys, just do a lot of lives. Sorry, there's like someone's horn going off in the background. I like to do a
No
lot of
worries, man.
live. I just did
I
a
guess that's
whole.
only fitting considering this week's episode, but we'll save the spoilers for a little later.
Oh yeah, right. I think someone's gonna burn a cross in my front yard right now. But
I hope
anyways,
not.
don't sorry, I don't want to go off track. But I do like to do a lot of reviews, movie reviews, as well as just anything that pretty much I like talked about retro. I do Dollar Tree kind of hunts and just a lot of fun stuff movie related on my channel. I just got into doing lives, just regular, ask me anythings with like live gameplay. Sometimes they're just people have been sending me links to videos. I'll do reactions to that. It's a lot of randomness, and I just like talking to the cinephile community. So I'm having a good time there.
Yeah, man. I love watching it. I love checking out you and this next guest's Sunday stream. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, this dude has been nothing but kind to us since the day we met him. Our channel was a baby channel when we first met this dude, and he was like, you know what? That doesn't matter. Like, let's collaborate, man, and he was even kind enough to host our show on his channel. So we had the gall to ask this guy to collaborate in the first place. And then we were like, hey, man, if you don't mind hosting it on your channel, he's like, dude, I'm all for it. And Elliot, to this day, we could not be any more grateful. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the one and only Elliot Collin of Movie Files. Elliot, how you doing tonight, man? Oh, Elliot, we can't hear you, man.
Rookie mistake. What's going on, Chris? What's going on, David? How we doing tonight, guys?
I had a lot of rookie mistakes yesterday with my live stream. I'll say that it's all right.
Oh man, that's the pressure of doing it live, Elliot. You know the deal. You're no stranger to that. How you been, man? What's new?
Good, man. Hey, man, just been watching some Lovecraft Country, talking about it on a seems like a daily basis at this point. But I love this show, and it's a hit, man. And I love breaking it down and making theories and predictions and things of that nature. So yeah, man, it's been a great time to be a horror fan and an HBO fan. So I've really been enjoying the show so far.
Most of.
Chris,
you went mute now.
Chris is mute.
Man, rookie mistakes left and right.
It's the ghost. It's the ghost.
Late. It's the ghost playing games. Yeah, no, Elliot, you've been a little busy lately, haven't you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's been going on at your channel?
Oh man, it's been a humble experience, man. Honestly, since the quarantine hit, man, just milestones on the channel, but also incredible collaborations. And with the growth of the channel, there's been a lot of opportunities to partner up with film festivals, getting advanced screeners from some of the studios and all that stuff, man. So it's just been a great time to meet new people, but also talk about TV shows and movies and kind of freeing our minds from the stuff that goes on outside of these doors, right? So it's always great to entertain ourselves and talk some great stuff, man.
Yeah, dude. I hate saying it, but like I couldn't be any more grateful for like the community that we all fell into during this quarantine. And it sucks because a lot of people didn't find an outlet like we all did, and it's just I do feel bad saying it, but like honestly, man, this is like, even though things are getting a little back to normal, people are going to the theaters, people are hanging out again, I'm still making time on my Fridays for this community, because I enjoy it like a lot more than what I was doing beforehand, which was just like, shooting the nonsense with my friends. Like we can do that whenever, I'd rather talk about film and have some intellectual conversations. And so, it is a little bittersweet to say that, but hey, you got to find some positives in the darkness.
That's what it's about, man.
I think Lovecraft Country is kind of a little bit about that in a sense.
Yeah.
It's been pretty interesting to sort of, now that I'm learning the format of this show, and Elliot, I know you've seen a few more episodes, and I don't know how much you can or cannot say, but to me, at least from what I've seen at this point, it's kind of like, what is the horror of the week type thing? So we had sort of like the haunted house, ghost under the bed episode this week, right? Mm-hmm. And so last week was like sort of like running through the woods, but they mix it in with obviously the social commentary. But now that I'm kind of learning the voice of this show, it kind of feels like, to me, it's like we're watching the characters constantly have to overcome the next obstacle, the next challenge, and persevere, not only with the social implications of the period piece that we're set in, but also with like the mystery monster magical mysticism of the week. Like, what do you guys think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I haven't read the 2016 Matt Ruff book, but I know from what I gather from the research that this is very similar to what the book did, where the book was almost anthology-ish type of series, but you got every chapter was a new character facing a new adversity. So with the show, they're trying to still keep us with the main core of the group, but like you said, Chris, it's either, you know, dealing with the monsters in the woods, dealing with Atticus in the mansion, you know, Titus's home, and then, you know, this week with the haunted house. So they're definitely kind of paying homage and still kind of going within the novel, but then they're also, like I said, putting their own spin to it. So I've been enjoying it. I know it might be off-putting for a lot of viewers because they're just like, what's the narrative? What are they trying to tell? But I think as the story unfolds, you're going to start to see those connective tissues and things starting to kind of connect from where they might have seemed separate, you know, from the previous episodes. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then is this an anthology series, or is the book anthology and HBO's not quite marketing it as an anthology series, or they're just sort of touching upon that? Like, what do you know about all that? Because I had the feeling, and hearing you say that, it makes way more sense now. But yeah, what do you know about that?
Well, I know, like, and I haven't finished episode 4 and 5, but I know, like, future episodes, like, we get more of Hippolaya's character, and it's like a Indiana Jones episode where it's like very action heavy. And then the 5th one is like from what I've heard, is one of the best episodes so far. So it is kind of playing into, like, not like you said, monster of the week or issue of the week, but it is kind of playing where they're getting a new scenario, same characters that you love and came to, you know, enjoy so far, but then just putting a spin on it where it's just kind of giving you different environments and introducing some other elements like the supernatural, like the spells and the monsters and stuff like that. So it's pretty neat, man. Like I said, I know it's not for everyone, but I'm really enjoying that so far.
Yeah, no, you know what? I hear you on that, and I kind of noticed the continuing through line with sort of that last scene of this week's episode, which I don't know if we'll sort of break down the spoilers too much at this point, but we had some characters sort of interact again after not seeing each other for almost, like, you know, 80 minutes of screen time, if we want to go from like where they last spoke in the second episode to the third. But I mean, David, before we jump in and start like deconstructing this show so far, like, just give us like your overview. You know, I know you've been covering it week to week on your channel, but like let my audience know like how you've been feeling about it and what you think about the show so far, man.
Oh, I love it. And I'll be honest, I mean, this was kind of Elliot knows how harsh I am sometimes with TV and how much time, you know, it really has to kind of pull me in to invest in a whole, you know, series, right? And I was calling it. I was telling myself, you know, if this episode does not dazzle me, this is going to be the make it or break it. I may not continue. And it did. It's usually the threequel with me, because I believe that the first two kind of built. The first one to me was better than the second, just as far as pacing wise went. Of course, the second one had, you know, a lot of heart felt moments, especially like that last one that we got with Uncle George. That last scene, the introduction of the dad was great to me. I love that actor. So it kind of held my interest, but I was like, the first episode is still, man, just really leaving an impression in my head. And then this third episode might be my favorite, just for the fact of the wild nature of the ghosts that we get. You know, the baby's head on the full man's body. It was leaving nightmarish images in my head. The gore that we got at the end, which is, I love the way they saved everything for pretty much the end, but it left that built up of, the guys that were harassing them, obviously, the cops not giving a damn. They even threw in that scene, which happened really recently to some guy. I totally forget, maybe about a year and a half ago, where they call it something where they throw him in the back of a car. Rough ride, like an actual rough ride. And they did that to Letitia. I thought it was terrible. And I was like, they did that to that one guy. I remember reading that, that story. And I think he died from that. And, so things like that, they're still tying in race. Like Elliot said, they do a good job of balancing that. But yeah, I think you had talked about it in episode 2 that this is going to be more of like an anthology. So I was like, I was waiting for it. And then I got that feel right away, where almost at the beginning, you're like, why aren't they talking about, what happened previous? And then you kind of realize it's like, it might have been weeks or months, because they do talk about the funeral and whatnot. So I was like, okay, time has set in. They're kind of sworn to see, they've kind of formed this like little secret where they're not going to talk about it. Right. And then they're introducing this whole new play of, starting the boarding house, which I love as well. And then this other conflict that we're getting with the people that don't want them there. And then of course, the hidden spirits in the, not the spirits that, are haunting this house. And I thought it was beautifully laid out. I loved, I think that's where I was getting like the Reanimator vibes almost, because Lovecraft did the Reanimator, right? I don't know if this was the Reanimator, but I got those vibes because they were saying that they were using them as test subjects, and that's what they did in the Reanimator. If you guys have seen those films, he was taking these bodies that were dead and was or killing them and then reanimating them, but they were coming back, you know, all messed up and stuff. So that's what I thought it was a kind of a tie-in to, but I don't know if it was directly. Maybe you guys know more, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed this episode. This is probably by far my favorite of the 3 so far.
Yeah, so you know what really sucks? I had been getting into Lovecraft and I had known nothing about his like personal life. And so like now I'm like, damn, do I really want to like, you know, support this guy for obvious reasons, even though he's long dead, not that it matters to him. But you know, but I have really enjoyed a book I read recently, which was At the Mountains of Madness, and that is a brilliant book. It's basically about these archaeologists that go to Antarctica and they uncover aliens, and it's crazy, man. It's like sci-fi like I've never read before. So I want to read The Reanimator, but I'm at a bit of a crossroads there right now.
It sounds like The
Anyways,
Thing, almost like The Thing.
I think, I mean, dude, he
bit.
really did influence a lot of today's sci-fi. You know,
Yeah.
he really was a big part of that. But like for me, the way I feel about this show is, it's like it's a drama. It's a social commentary until the last 15 minutes, and then all hell breaks loose. You know, and only in the first 3 episodes, but I kind of like think I like that. You know, because when it gets heavy and it gets crazy with like the sci-fi elements, it's like, okay, this is cool. Like we're in it now.
Yeah.
But I also really just enjoy watching these characters interact with each other, and especially, you know, I think it was Courtney B. Vance, right? That's who played George.
Uncle George.
I mean, if that's not a performance that gets the Emmys, that would be sort of like up for the grabs this year or something. Like if he doesn't win something for that, you know, those 2 episodes, I'm gonna be pretty upset. But I mean, yeah, like how do you guys feel about that? Like the way that the show's sort of like blending together the sci-fi and like the social implications of like 1950s America.
Yeah, I think Misha Green, the show writer, you know, that was her mission, right? Is to kind of, and that was the whole point of the book, the Matt Riff's book, was the conjunction between the Jim Crow era meets the sci-fi, Lovecraftian horror element. So they're playing exactly into what the book was, and paying homage to both sides, because the show, very similar to another HBO show like Watchmen last year, they implement so much of the social commentary, but then they like you said, Chris, they mix in the Lovecraftian horror so perfectly, even to the point of being so accurate within a time. We talked about, you know, Liddy in the back of the cop car, but also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the little boy, when they were playing the Ouija board, I think his name was Bobo, which is the middle name and the nickname of Emmett Till. So, and he had said to the Ouija board, am I going to have a good trip? And the Ouija board said no. And we all know, historically speaking, what happened to Emmett Till. He was, you know, brutally murdered in the streets. So like little things like that, they incorporate timelines of what's really going on in the Jim Crow era, and again, give you those horrific elements. So I think it's a great mixture of being true and authentic to the story being told, but also giving you that wild sci-fi horrific vibes within the show.
Dude, I didn't even pick up on that. This show constantly has so much flying at me that I did not even pick up on that little nuance. That's actually crazy that they like this show has layers, man. So we got to start. Yeah. We got to start. I think we unpack these layers tonight. I think that's what we sort of get into, you know? So how do you guys want to take this? Like, do you guys want to talk about the first 2 episodes? Do you want to just focus on the more recent one, Holy Ghost? Like, I'm all for anything. I mean, David, like, where's your head at with all this so far?
Let's jump right to Tick and Letitia knocking boots. How about that? Because that was something that you hinted at, Elliot, and I was like, "Damn it, this guy knows more than what he's letting on right now."
Oh no! So just a full disclosure, I've only on episode 3. I haven't watched ahead. So when we reviewed last week's episode, 2. It was only 2, and then this week was only 3. So I haven't seen anything ahead. So my whole prediction, what David was alluding to, was last week when we had the dream sequence with Tick fighting against the Asian woman that we haven't met yet, and Uncle George dancing with Delora. But the scene with Letitia and you know, Atticus, I had predicted like, well, is she afraid of love? Is she, you know, afraid to, you know, fall in love with Tick? But then it actually tells you in this episode she was a virgin. So that was pretty.
You said also that she could be a virgin. That's
what
you said.
Yeah.
And so you nailed it. That's why I was like, he knows something more specific.
Yeah, no, yeah,
I didn't know that. I mean, a girl that fine, virgin still, okay. That's
They
Yeah.
allude to it in this show. Even the guy was talking to Tick, kind of, trying to impress his body count, saying that they wrestled back in the day. So even stuff like that, you would think, like you said, a very beautiful woman, that she would have men running after her. But she, as we learned from episode 1 and 2, that her mom was a prostitute, and she saw men coming in and out of, well, I wouldn't say prostitute, but we assume that she slept with a lot of men. She had men coming in and out of the doors, and Letitia saw that at a very young age, and she wanted to be the opposite of that. So yeah,
that was a very great scene too, going back to where the house party, Atticus comes in and he's kind of, he sees Letitia dancing with this new guy to the boarding house, right? Man, my blood was boiling along with him. I was like, and they were just doing the slow motion and stuff. I was like, this is a really well filmed and emotional scene right here, because he's kind of holding back. He doesn't know what to even think. He's, they had something there, and then he just goes in on the restroom, and I was like, that a boy, man. Like that, I would have done the exact same thing. So it's kind of like, that whole thing of at first I got pissed at her too, but I'm like, oh, I know exactly what she's doing. She's doing what most likely any woman would do too. But no, I absolutely love this episode. And they're like, once again, there is so many layers to talk about. And I even said, I think on an Instagram story, she should have won an Oscar, but I totally forgot Oscars are for movies. And there's an Emmy for her performance at that seance at the end. Oh my God, man. She was in that deep, emotionally, acting wise, when she was repeating that spell that they had, taught her. And when the spirits were jumping from, I was like, this is a Sam Raimi movie. This is some Evil Dead shit. Like it really sucked me into that horror world. And I was like, they nailed it, because, sometimes dramas that are more, set, like they're like, okay, some directors are more focused, I guess, on a certain subgenre like drama, and they can't really nail the horror, or vice versa. They are nailing on all aspects. So I don't know if they're having people coming in that have the background of like, we know horror movies. Like, this is what we're going to do. So I guess that's where Jordan Peele and JJ kind of step in a little bit sometimes. I don't know how well, Misha Green is with the horror, but they're nailing it. They really are nailing it, because for horror fans like me, I can watch this drama-filled show, but also get my dose of horror, right? So I think they're really doing a good job on it. Yeah,
you guys tell me how you feel about this, because I feel like last week's episode really felt like, Jordan really took the reins on that one. But this week, I kind of got JJ vibes. Are you guys sort of like feeling that way as you're watching this? Like one episode's either one of them and one episode's the other one? Because this episode, I did have parts of it, and I hate that I always come back to this show. I really am not trying to just be that guy who keeps talking about, but I got Lost vibes, man. I really kind of did, especially with the interplay of the love triangle, and how he just, like he said, just stormed into the bathroom and stuff, and I don't know. I mean, how do you guys feel about that?
You can speak to that, because I'll say you can speak to that. I haven't seen Lost at all, so I don't really know other than JJ's other works. But go ahead, man.
Well, I was going to say, so I know, obviously J.J. Abrams, Jordan Peele, big names, great way to sell a show when you're, just the same way Blumhouse does when they show you from the producers of Get Out and all the popular films. I think there needs to be more credit towards Misha Green being the showrunner. Like, I believe that she's been helped by J.J. Abrams and Jordan Peele, just kind of maybe structurally speaking, how to handle a set, how to bring the talent together. But I think all the praise goes to Misha Green. Again, we know J.J. Abrams, Jordan Peele, they have their own production companies. J.J. Abrams has that $300 million plus deal with Warner Brothers. So and Jordan Peele is making his own films, doing Twilight Zone. They're very busy. So I think all credit really needs to go to Misha Green. And sure, she might take inspirations from Lost. Like you said, Chris, last week's episode might have felt like a little bit of Get Out with, the sons of Adam wanting using a black man's body to get their end goal and go into the Garden of Eden. But I think what a great horror and great content creator does is they pick and choose the people they admire, and they love their work. They implement it in their work, but then they give you their own spin. So I think, to all respect to J.J. Abrams and Jordan Peele, all the praise needs to go to Misha Green. She is an incredible showrunner. I follow her on Instagram. She has so many behind the scenes. She's on every set. She's behind every scene. She's behind, reading the scripts, showing them how she wants to show. Even though there's a director on each episode, she's still involved in every episode. So kudos to her, man. This is her show. This is her baby.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking her up right now. I'm not seeing that she's worked on anything aside from Lovecraft Country. Is that correct?
Well, she did a show with Jurley Smollett called Underground for a couple seasons, and that was her show, and that's why they have that relationship. She was able to bring her to that show, so she has one show on her belt by the title of Underground. So she is fairly new, but she seems pretty seasoned to me.
Oh, right. I'm seeing here Underground and something called In Between Days. Okay.
Yeah.
I was right there
Which was
with
just
you.
a short 15-minute short film. So yeah, dude, I
Mhm.
mean, look, I mean, producers kind of for the most part shell out the money. Sure, they maybe curtail some of the creative decisions. It's no like secret that JJ kind of left Lost after episode 8 and just popped in from time to time. So I got to get hip to Misha Green is what it seems.
Yeah, no, I was right there along with you. When they said Misha Green, I was like, who is this? Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I really didn't know any of her work at all whatsoever. But once again, turning me into a believer. I mean, this is great, writing that we're getting. I'm having fun with the show. Once again, whether even if it was not like an anthology type of form or style, like it's sucking me in with these three main characters that we got. Well, or even the two main characters that we have now, and even the little cameos, which we get the hints of the dad again. Very briefly, once again, at the beginning of this, where they're kind of trying to keep everything a secret, and about the uncle. I'm just having fun with this, just kind of seeing where it goes. What's the next journey going to be, or what's the next obstacle they're going to have to overcome? And it feels like I am getting a history lesson. I mean, none of us lived through this stuff, so it's like we're kind of just seeing it from the accounts. And that's another thing too is. I wonder if they're actually getting accounts, historical accounts from people or documented things, because that adds to the authenticity of everything, right? And it's very, very fascinating, just this whole Jim Crow era and what was 70 years ago, 60, 70 years ago, something like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what's really been sticking with me? I know it doesn't really apply to this week's episode, but that diner scene, man, where she just comes out, we gotta go.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been thinking about that a lot, man. You know,
Yeah.
like that. It's not just because of the performances. It's kind of because of like what you said, David, where it's like, unless I've watched the period piece, I mean, when we were learning about this stuff in like 8th grade, I was in 8th grade, I wasn't paying attention to anything in school. So like really this part of history, I, am not too familiar with. So it's kind of like,
regardless, they're not teaching you that history in school. They didn't teach about Native American genocide in school. This is stuff that you learn afterwards when everybody always brings it up. That's why I always thought it was pretty shitty that they never taught us the real deal in high school. Like you gotta take courses in college to sometimes to find out or extend your knowledge a little bit through internet or whatever it is, library or to find these things out. But yeah, I guess it's not that I was blind, but I guess I was busy being a teenager and not caring too much. But now that I'm older, obviously I'm like, wow, like you see how much history got brushed under the rug, I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Right. No, I 100% agree. And I think this is the kind of show that like I would already rewatch this show, because at this point in time, not even just because 2020 has been like sort of a skimp year, the performances are enough to keep me coming back. These characters, and I'm a guy who does not like the start and stop, like each week we're starting a new story type format. I'm very much against like the classic procedurals. I really can't stand them. I know people love that show Psych. I know the actors really mess with those performances. I can't do it. You know what I mean? So for me, Dom's been he's been pulling my leg for years to watch Fargo. I haven't done it yet, so, but like for me to get I've heard, man, I just can't do it. I can't even do American Horror Story. And I know that's a continuous narrative throughout the one season.
That's a great show.
Yeah. So for me to like get this sunk into these characters, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it's not even like seasons upon seasons that we know it might get renewed, but I mean, it's an anthology, so who knows what's happening with it. But
yeah, that's what
I remember. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was gonna say that's what I remember telling Elliot last week is that we have so much to talk about when we're only in a couple episodes in. Like they're really filling us, full of all this good content or information to kind of talk about. And it's, maybe it is because the central timepiece of the, there's a talking thing, as well as kind of. It's on the playing field what's going on, as the common topic that a lot of people are talking about nowadays. So I guess it is kind of a not relatable but just it's the common theme that most people are talking about right now. So I guess it does get people talking, which is a good thing. Whether it's talking bad or talking good, you're getting people talking and just seeing this. I think is what, and that's another thing too. And I don't want to get too about this generation, about how bad that some people think that they have it. There's a lot of privileged people out there, obviously, right? I'll just say privileged people out there, and they talk about, oh, my Wi-Fi's out. Oh, I can't get, I can't go to the theater. I can't do this. There's some people that weren't allowed to walk the streets, man, like 70 years ago, 60, 70 years ago. And it always, reminds me when we watch movies like this, or even like of that time era before the Great Depression, things were a lot different 100 years ago, and it's really crazy, and I that's why I got really furious, and I don't mean to go off topic, when they started when they wanted to start changing some of the older movies. I felt like they should always leave that stuff in there because they're time capsules of what, I'm not saying that because I want to keep them there I agree with that stuff. I'm saying that generations need to see that to show how far we've progressed as humans. Yes, shitty things are happening now, but a lot shittier things were happening to a lot more people back then as well too. So
Yeah. Elliot, you got something? You want me to jump in or?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like David said, man, the show is very topical. And I think those are the, for me personally, and I know it's not for everyone, when they talk about movies and shows, it's a form of escapism, right? We go into a movie, we go into a show to kind of escape our day-to-day lives. But I'm the type of viewer that I like to sometimes, and most times, to be honest with you, to have that mirror in front of society and saying like, hey, this is a movie, but this is stuff that you can relate to. This is stuff that you see day to day. So I love when shows do that and movies do that. And they don't, it doesn't feel forced. It's organic to what the story or to the timepiece is. So it's not something that they're trying to, an agenda or something of that nature. So I just love the way the show tackles social commentary, police brutality, racism, and all that different stuff in the show. But then again, when the show adds that kind of that entertainment element, it's again, and we've talked about it several times, it's what's scarier, the racism or the monsters. And I love how the show's kind of balancing out those two different dilemmas that our characters go through week to week. And there is, again, we talked about the whole anthology approach for the first 3 episodes. There is a connective tissue, and so far it's been Christina, from having Atticus or Montrose write the letter saying that, to come get him, but they kidnapped Montrose, and that was Christina. The sons of Adam, she gave him the ring to destroy the house and to kill her father. That was Christina. And also she wants Atticus to get the missing pages from the book that they're looking for. So there is, even though there's a new setting, a new environment, there's still a through line that Christina is manipulating everything, and there's a bigger a villain to worry about with Christina and potentially William too. So again, I think this show is just brilliant on so many levels.
Yeah, I agree with that, and you know what, man, like I think you're right. Like, what is scarier, the monsters or the racism? Because to me, arguably, like, the part of this episode that hit home the most was their awesome party, which, like I said, I love these characters. And my favorite part of any horror thing is like the first 15 minutes where the characters just interact and they get to just be relaxed and calm. Maybe that's just like who I am as a person. I get very stressed out with horror, but I really just enjoyed that party, that house party scene, like the kids in the closet messing with the Ouija board. If that was the craziest it ever got, that would have been cool with me. But like, I really felt for them when the party got interrupted, when the car horns came out and the cross was on the front lawn, like that part, I would say, because this show, it leaves me each week thinking about it from episode to episode. While I still don't have my master opinion on it yet, I like to wait until I've seen it all, especially when I know I'm sticking with the show. I can say I am thinking about it week to week. And so even though, like David said at the beginning of this thing, there was some disturbing imagery with the baby, and that whole last sequence really was pretty intense. To me, that wasn't like the more intense part of this episode. It was the party getting interrupted and just like sort of seeing like, damn, like, like David said, like the history aspect of it. Because to me, like, obviously we've come a long way, but we still have a lot of work to do. And so like to have like that mirror sort of like reflect a little bit of like nowadays in it, like that's what I'm getting more out of this show than anything. Although I do think the horror and all that stuff is really cool, and I think they are sort of honoring like the Lovecraft lore. But I'm a little more shocked by the house party getting messed up and like seeing that happen than the monsters.
I mean, it happens throughout the entire episode. We see, you know, from the very beginning with, Liddy showing her sister Ruby, I bought a house. It's, you know, it's a good time. You know, we're gonna, you know, be these homeowners, and then we get the scene with the horn. So the celebration canceled way too early. We just mentioned the party scene. They're living their lives. They're having a good time. Gets interrupted again, and then so on and so forth. So it just goes to show you again, during this time, there was no relaxation for the African American culture during that time. It seems like whenever there's happiness, whenever there's time to breathe, there's someone knocking on their door telling them they don't belong here. There's someone telling them that they're not human beings. So this shows a constant reminder that our heroes are never have a chance to breathe. Every time they try to relax, there's someone, either a monster or the racism that's right behind them. So it's a constant reminder for them.
You know what really kind of like, I think, hit the nail on the head for me was when she comes outside and starts smashing those cars.
Mm-hmm.
I think this whole episode was an all-star performance from her, but I think that's where I'm like, okay, this is the moment that like I would like to see it get some recognition at like the Emmys or something.
Yeah.
Like from that point on in the episode, David, I know you said she was incredible in that last sequence, but I really think it started there, specifically like the all-star performance, you know?
Yeah, no, Letty is definitely proving, and I told Elliot I haven't seen too much of, excuse me, Journey Smollett, other than, you know, she was a kid actor, you know, and so I think that's where I first saw her. A lot of, Full House, and then also it was Hanging with Mr. Cooper. You said, yeah, so I do remember her from her younger years. And then in between that, I really didn't see much of her, if I'm being honest, other than like Birds of Prey recently, and then this, of course. And I think I'm loving the character development of her, where she's not a damsel in distress. Like she's someone who, when she wakes up and the car horns are still going, she's sweating. So what does she do? She goes in the basement and starts. I work in the warehouse, man. So she grabs that wrench and starts doing the shit herself. I was like I really love the independent woman, the positivity, and that comes along with this character, because she's doing it herself, and that is not too shown, at least from what I've seen in a lot of movies or shows recently. They're not really too focused on that. It's always, you know, I need help. So, and they make it almost seem like that's what's going on in the real world, and it might be to some extent, but I think the focus on you know, her doing this herself is really showing that, you know, it's more than just having actresses in the forefront. You have to have strong actors. I think they actually got rid of that word. It's actors just now across the board. So getting strong actors that are female in the forefront, but showing that they can do more than just be a pretty face or just be a sidekick, right? Or just, you know, just there for show. It's you know, a trophy or whatever it is. They can kick ass. They can do things themselves. I was raised by a single mother, so I have a lot to say about great women. You know, you know. So I always loved seeing that, and Letty is just stepping it up for me. I think more in this episode than she did probably in the last one for me. So I'm loving it. But I didn't want to neglect too, because Q's saying, man, talk about the baby stuff. Talk about the horror.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah, we didn't focus too much on that.
Yeah. But so I just want to get your guys' quick takes on it, because my answer would be no, I don't think it's possible. But I also do want to talk about the more horror side of it. But like, do you guys think it is possible to talk about the show without the social implications? Do you think that's like fair to like not talk about it in there? Just curious. Like, if you don't want to answer that, I know it's a little political. You don't have to answer it. This is just what I think about. I'm very into politics too at this point in my life. So I just, you know, and like all that's going on. So I just am curious what you guys think, but no pressure. I know it's a bit of a different question.
Yeah. So the question is, you're saying, is it hard to watch the show without commentating on the social commentary in the show? Like
from what we do, you know, because like this conversation's been a little more driven on the political, the social side of things. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering if like you guys think it's possible to talk about this show without going there, and if you think that's like fair. You know what I mean? I'm just curious. I personally don't think it is, but
I mean, I'm sure someone could. They could just focus on the horror elements and just leave it at that. But I mean, me personally, I know David, we've done it when we talked about it, and I've done it when I talked about it on my show. There's no reason to ignore it, because it's there, and it's meant to be there to be spoken about. It's meant to trigger you. If you're not bothered by the events that are being shown on screen, you know, maybe there's something. Maybe you got to look in the mirror and kind of reevaluate yourself as a human being when you're seeing people being treated the way they're being treated, not only during the times we're living in now, but especially during those times. So I think, I don't want to say it's impossible. Again, someone could talk about the show and just strictly talk about the horror, the entertaining aspects, and that's all fine and dandy. But I think the show is meant to spark a conversation about the entertainment aspect, but also the social issues that are going on, and how, again, like David said, this is 70 years ago, and there's still stuff that is very reminiscent to what's going on now. So I think it does the show maybe a little bit of disservice if those conversations aren't being had.
Yeah, I guess I go there because there's really not too much of the sci-fi again, except for like the last 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So I'm just kind of curious. I guess I'm just trying to figure out what the creators are trying to impart on us at the same time, because there's a lot in this show. But yeah, David, what were you going to say, man?
Well, yeah, going back to the question you had asked, I think I don't think anything that we've said has been political at all. I think it's more of a human rights issue. It's just, to think that people are separated by race. Once again, me and my brother always say this. This is why the aliens won't visit us, because we're so fucking petty that we focus on race as a human, like the pigment of our skin. That's all it is. That's literally all it is what is dividing people, and that's made one sect not like a certain sect of people. That's it. And they've been doing this for thousands of years because of that. But I think it is a human rights issue. And I think people will be doing a disservice if they actually really like this show to not talk about that with their friends. It's like, hey, here's a cool show that I just found out. It does have horror elements, but they tie it in through the Jim Crow era. Oh, what's the Jim Crow era? Let me explain it to you. And that's kind of the history lesson, because I didn't know 100% the Jim Crow era. I had heard the term, but I had to do my history exactly what it was. So I was like, okay, I kind of knew about it, but I didn't know exactly what it entailed. I didn't know from what time frame, it was from here to there. And it was implemented a lot longer in certain states. And these are the states that they're focusing on. Obviously, not more so in Chicago at that time, because that's where, we get to see them now. But still there, but it's not more prevalent as it is in the deep South, right? I mean, you see it with, movies like Ray and Selma, and like they always talk about they don't want to do the South Circuit because it's so damn racist, right? Like, the hints of like going back to episode 1 of the sundown law, which is insane to me, where if you're African American, you get caught after sundown, you get hung from a tree. Once again, imagine if we had a sundown law now, like people will be losing their shit. I think
there's still towns.
Oh yeah, I know
that still have sundown. Yeah.
Wait a minute. For real?
Mm-hmm.
There's still people getting hung for sure.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I knew that, but I didn't know like there were still actual towns that do that. Okay, well like I said, we have a lot of,
in some places. Yeah,
we clearly have a lot of work to do. So that's why, like, I like to always think about the voice, and maybe that's the film school student in me. Is this really a horror show? Sure, it's marketed as one, but what type of horror is it? I think that's what it kind of comes down to, really, at its core. So,
I think they play off each other. I mean, we're definitely seeing that play of it's almost one and the same, right? The monsters are also the racist people as well. So it's, I think they're doing a good balance of making you think more than anything. Yeah. So I think you think it's a cool horror movie, or horror show, here's a little bit tied in there to show you that they're one and the same. And that's what I'm getting and taking away from it. And that's what's holding my interest along with everything else. And I think if it was just cool CGI and stuff like that, it wouldn't hold me as much as the message, the story, and the way they're conveying it. And it's coming across. It's beautifully executed. So far, I think we've gotten 2 directors. The last 2 were by the same guy. The first one was Jan Demange, but they're really well done. And I can't wait to see the next. What's that?
Was Drew Goddard attached to these first 2 episodes?
No, it's Daniel.
Daniel something.
Daniel Shuckman or something.
He did the last 2
right now. Okay. Yeah, he did. Yeah,
the last, yeah.
Yeah, no, we can get into like the actual mythical sci-fi elements now. I just kind of like, I just kind of wanted to pick your guys' brains on that, and
and that's once again, you'd be doing a disservice if you didn't.
Right, no, because like I said, man, like I still don't know fully how I feel about this show, but one thing I do know is that when I'm at work washing golf carts, as much as I love Cobra Kai, I'm not thinking about Cobra Kai. Can
I ask you a serious personal question though?
Sure.
As a white guy, how do you feel watching the show?
I think I feel a little uncomfortable that this stuff happened. I'm just assuming
you're white, by the way. Sorry.
Well, I am. I'm Italian.
Okay.
Among other things, but predominantly Italian. I feel a little comfortable and like honestly a little embarrassed that this stuff happened in America, which is a country that I, thought up until recently was a little more different in regards to like how people have been treated across the world and all that. And so it's like it makes me want to do better as a person, I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
So and
Just
then like
curious
have
because
these types of conversations that I normally don't have on this show. You know what I'm saying? So
and that's
just to
what I'm
use the
trying to
small
understand
platform.
is is the opinions of everybody because myself I do have white friends. They have not seen the show yet, but the friends that have seen this show are usually of a minority, so I get their perspective. So that's why I always kind of I'm just kind of interested in your perspective, how you guys are liking it so far,
Yeah,
or
man.
or how you guys are like how is it sinking in, I guess, so far.
And you know what? It kind of makes me like angry at the same time that that stuff did happen, and to pair it with what's going on in the news right now, because I was in a band for 4 or 5 years, and my band, like, we were pretty mixed. There was like 3 white kids, a Guyanese kid, and my friend Chris, who was Jamaican. And it's like I never thought about that ever. Like I was just like, cool, I'm doing what I love with my best friends, and I hope this never stops. Like I never put any sort of like race implication on it. I never was like, oh, cool, like we have this many different, like, and it's just like I don't know why that's such a thing that happens
Mhm.
ever, but like nowadays too, it's like I thought we were getting past this based off what I had learned in the history books, but I also think I'm learning a lot about the history books as well through shows like this and through conversations that are happening in this day and age.
That's good.
And I think you gotta get your sources from multiple places and try and keep learning and never get comfortable in your knowledge.
Mhm.
So not to get too
Yeah,
deep,
that's
but that's kind of
no,
like where I'm
that,
trying to approach it from.
that's totally fine. I mean, I'm a strong proponent of, you're not born a racist. It's something that's learned, right? So obviously,
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you look at a group of kids, it's the most innocence that you'll ever see. You always see, well, at least I see it. I used to take care of kids, so like there was, smaller kids along the way. They're playing with every race across the board. They don't give a shit. They're not taught that until later in life through peers or parents. And until that stops and those generations kind of fade away with that, passed down, hopefully, and they all the races die off, then you're gonna start getting less and less of that. That's the thing. Well, at least that's the goal. That's the end goal. So, but I don't know how long it's gonna be. But I think the fact that they're bringing stuff up like this shouldn't be triggers, but it should just be life lessons of, once again, like I said, how far we've kind of come in certain instances. But when things, do come up that are current and, that kind of pertain to these episodes that we're seeing almost, it can't help. You can't help but open an old wound, right? So I think that's where people are feeling it. And this is a perfect time to have a show like this.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The timing couldn't be any more right. And
Yeah.
a way to get to a lot of ignorant people is through entertainment, I think. People who just want to turn something on, to tune it out, not knowing what to expect. So hopefully the show has more of an impact than just being cinematically stunning and great performances, which we obviously know is
Yeah.
Yeah.
the case as well.
Yeah.
But
So the people under the stairs. No, I'm just kidding. Who are
Well, I
those
think we
guys at the end? Who are those skulls at the end? I mean, the whole little catacombs that they showed at the end. By the way, the best kill, man, was the one with where the guy got his head cut off and all the blood started spurting out with the
That was
elevator.
a great callback with the elevator for horror fans. They kept going back to the elevator, and it's
Yeah.
it's going to have a great payoff, which it did.
Oh, I love the foreshadowing, and I love how they kept the shot on the blood spurting out because I'm a huge gore guy, and I still don't know if it was practical or CGI. I was looking at it; it looked a little bit of both almost. I was like,
Yeah.
this is so clean, like this is very very realistic. And once again, these are happening to the racists of the episode, right? So it's like you find enjoyment in seeing these guys get killed. I mean, the people we don't know, but
Right. Which I would say, going back to that Emmett Till kind of real world situation, or at least trying to implement the real world, that whole montage, not montage, but the title sequence of like 3 people went missing, that actually happened in 1955 in the north side of Chicago. So that's another thing that they try to historically implement in the show, like American Horror Story does sometimes, where they mix real world with the supernatural elements and try to tie it in. So another historic accuracy, well, not accuracy, but they want to implement some of the real world stuff to what really happened during that time.
Is this something that the show's doing, or did the book also drop tidbits of history in there as well.
That I'm not sure, because again, I haven't read the book, and from people I know that have read the book, they actually like the show a lot more. I think they say the book is just okay, so I'm not really too sure of the show. I would imagine so. Again, I would imagine there was probably something in the book that made HBO and Misha Green and all of them get on board, but I'm not too sure if that was something that the book did as well as the show's doing.
Yeah, I was just curious because when things get adapted, they kind of find their own voice.
Right.
I plan on doing a video, for like Seth Rogen, The Boys versus the comic, and there's a bit of a different change there. But I mean, yeah, like let's talk about like the sci-fi horror aspect of it. I wasn't too impressed by the visuals. It seems like you guys were, and I can see Q in the chat was.
Really?
I thought it was fine,
Mhm.
but I didn't think it was like, because I think HBO is the place where the CG can be comparable with the movies, and sometimes
Definitely.
even better. Predator
Yeah.
with that unrendered shot. I'm talking to you.
Mhm.
So I mean, what did you guys think about it? Like, just I guess from a visual standpoint, I thought the effect was there. Like, I felt nervous, and I felt like, whoa, like this is a crazy situation right now, and Journey like I was like, damn, like I'm feeling for her character right now, but I didn't think the visuals paired with the emotional quality of the scene, in my opinion.
It's interesting.
The only visual that I thought was a little underwhelming as far as the effect and just visually speaking was the scene where Letty's in the dark room and she sees the pictures coming together, and it's the doctor that is experimenting on these people, and the way he kind of comes out of the ground and you feel like a Disney movie. Get out of my house! I thought that was just like kind of probably for me like the worst visual, and also just seeing I thought was kind of cheesy. But everything else, no, I actually thought the mixture of practical and CGI with the disfigured black people that were killed by the experiments, which again the experiment of putting a baby's head on a grown man's body is just disturbing within itself, just thinking that someone would do that to somebody. But no, I was very pleasantly surprised by the visual, especially the scene with Tick where he was like the doctor was inside of him and he was like trying to get him out of his head. I thought the visuals were pretty impressive, me personally, but yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I really fell in love with that last seance scene where you get to see everything, like you just said, and I totally forgot about it, probably because I didn't like it as well, where the face comes out of the pictures. I thought it was like, that no, I don't
That
think
didn't work. Yeah,
it didn't work out 100%. Yeah, it was a Disney movie.
Get out of my house.
Yeah, but everything else, once we saw the blankets kind of get pulled back by that hand, at first I was like, I wasn't paying attention too much. Then I saw the hand, how it was like decomposing. I was like, oh shit, this is where we're gonna get our element, of horror. And then the face that came out, which I saw before because I looked it up online and they had already the stills, and I was like, oh fuck, I already know what it's gonna look like. But then I guess I'm used to, okay, the only thing I can compare this to, maybe you guys will understand in the chat, Q definitely knows, I have a poster of it, is some of the practical effects from Tales from the Hood, which is an actual anthology movie, which was, I grew up on that. I don't know if you ever saw that, Chris, but I thought that was a lot of African-American cast as well in there too. But when they showed the rotting bodies in some zombie scenes, they were just like zombies, right? In this one, I think they went to the extreme and they showed, a woman holding a woman holding the baby, the baby head, there was a lot of limbs missing and stuff. And that's what made it real scary to me, that you could actually picture people being torn apart, as well as, the jaw ripped off, from the woman. So it was like, and then when you got to see, them get pretty much put all back together and find peace, the spirits found peace, from this guy kind of just leaving finally. I loved it. I love the payoff. I mean, they could have just, spirits found peace, but then they went an extra step further and had him trying to escape the body, which I thought was really cool because usually in these exorcisms or, something where spirits are jumping, you don't usually see that. You'll see the eyes turn a certain color or the voice might change. You don't really get to see them kind of fighting with themselves. And I think they took it to the next degree of exorcism most. And I enjoyed it. I really liked it. So.
Yeah, so I guess to further elaborate after kind of hearing like your guys' takes on it, that's why I said I still thought the episode was super impactful, but the writing I think is what made up for that. I don't think actually visually seeing that worked for me as much as it did for you guys. And not to misquote Q, he said that some of the visuals he thought were suspect too. So it seems like he liked some of them and he didn't like others. I thought, like Q said, the face on the ground thing and that whole sequence where he rips the blanket out. I thought that was a little, whack, to quote Q. I didn't like it. I thought it looked terrible, to be honest. And I don't look things up in advance for anything. I really try not to watch trailers unless Dom's like, just you gotta watch this trailer, man. You gotta break your rule, because I like to be surprised. And so I saw that with fresh eyes. I saw everything with fresh eyes in this episode, and it just, I don't know. I think this was the weakest of the 3 episodes as far as the visuals go. Can't say I loved the beasts, monsters things at the end of the first episode, whatever the Lovecraftian term for them is, I don't know. Can't say I loved those either visually. I think where I thought the whole episode was perfect was last week's episode, where they're sort of looking through the portals and like, the white people are watching them struggle in the house. They're each having their own unique one-on-one scenario. That's where I thought the visuals were the strongest, but I am a little let down visually by the show. But like I said, I think the writing and the performances make up for it. It's not terrible. It's just I have this standard for HBO, and I have a standard for like a Stars or a Showtime, but then my standard for HBO is like even higher than those networks. I just think they're quality television. And
I totally agree.
So when you're saying visuals, you're talking about the quality of the CGI, whether it be the portals or whatever.
Yes,
okay, I just want
exactly.
To make sure.
Like the actual, I guess the render, and this is where I don't know too much of how they actually produce these types of things. So whatever aspect affects how it looks, but I just think is the same sense that I thought towards the end of Game of Thrones, the budget seemed to be getting a little stretched and the dragons kind of lost their luster and allure that they had in the earlier seasons. I kind of feel like there's similar issues here with that in regards to just not pulling me in as much as the writing does. So, yeah, it's like my only negative thing I have to say about the show. So,
what's your favorite episode so far? Just curious, out of these 3.
Yeah, my favorite episode so far, I think it's a tie between the second and the third. I really wasn't sold after the first one. In fact, I was a little confused, and I was going to stick with it because like it's 2020 and there's not much going on right now in like recent releases, and to have something to look forward to each week is just like a blessing in disguise. I mean, we had HBO's Run, which ran away from that one real fast, not to insert the bad pun. So when I heard this was going to be quality, and I liked the performances in the first episode, I was going to stick with it. But I just watched this one, just so you guys know, like an hour ago. I didn't watch it last Sunday. I watched it before we came on here. So to rank it higher than the second, I think I need a little more time to sit with it. But certainly it's gotten better in the past 2 weeks for me personally.
I got to agree.
It went from good to great.
I got to agree with Q in the chat. I thought episode 2 was the weakest. Just as far as I'm just personally not a fan of that, of wizards and sorcery. I understand it was a huge part of like finding out why this is all happening. It just didn't hold it for me. Like I could have, I don't know. It's not that I could have done without it, but it just wasn't the best episodes for me. Though I did like seeing those scenes where it was almost like an acid trip with the Asian girl that jumps out of the, like he like to say, the little Asian girl that jumps out with a knife, right? That was a fun scene, but I think all the other characters involved just kind of, I was like, I'm trying to focus on these 3, and they were just throwing a little too many other side actors at me at the time. So,
yeah, I hear you, man. It's now that I know it's anthology, that makes sense, and I'm going to be more used to it though going forward. That was a big thing I did not know going into it. So like seeing like the uncle, and then have him go away, I was like, really, we're gonna kill him off this early? I didn't know.
I still think there's room for Uncle George to make a couple appearances, whether it be spiritually or flashbacks of him and Delora having an affair. So I think there's still room to see Uncle George come back.
What do you guys think of Montrose just popping up in and out of these episodes, man? Because we're literally spending no time with him, and I really do like that actor a lot. So I'm like, when are we gonna get more? Because right now he's just being the same dick father that Atticus knew him to be, and he doesn't want him to stick talk about anything really. He doesn't want to open up to him or anything. But we just got that quick scene, and at the same same scene, pretty much not same scene, but same mannerisms in episode 2 as well. So, I mean, do you guys want to see more Montrose, or are you guys fine with the small cameos we're getting?
Oh, we'll HBO and Michael K. Williams have a really great relationship. It's him as Omar, so he's gonna get. And also, what was the show with Ms. Red, The Night Of? So he has a really good, rich history with HBO. So I'm sure they didn't just cast him just to make, like you just mentioned, just kind of cameos. I think he's gonna be very integral to future episodes, especially with him knowing Atticus is not his son, potentially that his wife had an affair with his brother, potentially maybe having to save Hippolyta, who they kind of didn't really elaborate on it, but the scene where Hippolyta goes where Dee, says the Ouija board, she goes into that room and it's like this obstacle, just this object, and we don't see much of her after that, which I believe ties into next week's episode, where it's going to be kind of a Hippolyta episode. So I think Montrose will be very integral to future episodes, if I were to take a guess.
Guys, listen to everything that Elliot's saying, because that's what's going to happen next week. He tries to play it off like he doesn't know. But
hey, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen episode 4 yet. I'm trusting me.
It's going to be behind a episode next week. I already know. No, but I loved her incorporation in this episode as well. Maybe I missed it, but the part with ripping the pages from the Bram Stoker Dracula, what was that about? Did I miss that?
Catch that.
Like again, I think it plays into her going into that mysterious room. I think it's going to be a big part of it. Because she bought the book again, because I guess out of frustration maybe. But I think those pages are going to be integral to foreshadowing.
Yeah, they didn't answer that, right? She kind of walked into the room, and then the whole crazy last sequence happened. If I'm remembering correctly. Okay,
yeah,
I see what the show's
she's somewhere. Doing. Yeah, she's somewhere, and we might have to go save her.
So I don't know how long you guys want to run for on a month. What is it? Monday? It's Monday. Oh my God, I'm losing.
Is it Monday? Yeah, it is Monday.
Dude, I am. When I tell you that adjusting to this new schedule, week 1 has been rough. It has been rough. I think I sent you guys the YouTube link about 3 times in the Instagram chat instead of the StreamYard link.
For sure.
But no. So I mean, I don't know how long you guys want to go for. I'm having a good time. I don't mind. Keep going. But if there is one last thing I do want to talk about, it's the end of last week's episode. I really want to see more. I don't know what the fuck we got left off on. Is he Adam? Is he just using that for symbolism? What's up with that? They brought up the Freemasons. That's something that always kind of has interested me to begin with. This week they brought up Epstein. What are they doing right now? Like, and is it, are they saying this is like Jeffrey Epstein's like family? Oh God, I feel like you shouldn't say those words on YouTube. Oh well. I don't know. They're
the stream just kicked out, by the way.
No, it didn't.
No, I'm kidding.
I was about to say, dude, but I know like people bug about that. But I mean, since I guess I kind of sorry, David, I forgot we're co-streaming here. Since I kind of like demonetized us, we might as well just get into it. And like what's you guys take on all this like crazy symbolism and conspiracy things that they're just trickling in amidst all the chaos,
I just took it as another Epstein, to be honest. But I mean, I did catch that. I was like, what do you think, Elliot?
Yeah, no, I think the show purposely does certain nods and acknowledgments to certain historical real life figures, and it might just be another Epstein within this story, and another just happens to have that same name. But in most cases, influential families have very dark past and secrets, and connected to certain groups of people, whether that be a cult or a white supremacy or KKK. So there might be some, the show might be having a little underhand nods or saying something. But I think at the same time, I think it just happens to be that name and ties into the mythology of the story they're trying to tell.
Can I tell you why I think it actually is the Epstein that we know of today?
Sure.
They're talking about, and he he abducted people and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And what did Jeffrey Epstein do? Trafficking. I feel like there's more to that. I don't know when this was written though, and that's tough. But I really feel like this show is firing on all cylinders, man. Yeah. In regards to like, hey, look, we have this dude who wrote some crazy stories, and we happen to live in a crazy world right now. So let's pull no punches. It's kind of like what I get from this show. So maybe I'll be proven wrong. Maybe it'll never get answered. Maybe they want the forums to go crazy like they did back in the lost days of the internet. But I'm definitely going to check Reddit after this episode and see what people are saying about that.
Just even little things like, again, Uncle George's wife name. I think the show says is Hippolyta, but some people call it Hippolyta, which is the auntie of Wonder Woman, Diana. Hippolaya's daughter name is Diana. So I mean, there's little things like of that nature where they, and as we know with Watchmen, Kal-El, like they're creatively, influencing pop culture things and real life things, stuff like that nature. So there's little Easter eggs that you can always point out. And she has a Black Panther a comic, the first episode. So there's many little Easter eggs and stuff that they do within this show.
Yeah, man. I hope we answer some of like the deeper conspiracy stuff. I hope it just doesn't stay surface level. I feel like there's a lot you can explore there with the Freemasons.
That went way over my head. So you guys are just bringing it to me right now.
I have a lot of time when I'm washing golf carts, man, and my AirPods are in, and I listen to anything and everything. I gotta stay entertained. You know what I'm saying?
Have you, speaking of listening, do you listen to the podcast after every episode on HBO?
I heard about it. I know it's a thing.
It's fantastic.
It
just
is.
like did you watch did you listen to the Watchmen after with Damien Lindelof after each episode that they had like a breakdown of each episode?
Are you talking about after the HBO or was there a podcast?
There was a podcast dedicated to Watchmen every episode, every week, and they're doing the same thing with this show as well. With the writers of the show. Mm-hmm. They do that a lot of the shows. Yeah, they have after the episode premieres, they have like the creators talking about the shows, the Easter eggs, the theories, and things like that. So if you really do, if you really want to dive into all the different, like you said, theories, Easter eggs, they do allude to that stuff on the podcast.
I had no idea about that, man. I'm gonna pair that Lindelof podcast with my Watchmen rewatch that I have to get to. Mm-hmm. So that's good to know. I had no idea HBO was doing that. That is good to know. Well, fellas, I mean, we hit over an hour, but unless you guys have anything else to add,
we didn't talk about knocking the boots.
All right, let's get into it.
To me, I thought that was a big pivotal point, man. We're missing out on that good action, that good Atticus butt action, man. Come on. That was almost as good as Hugh Jackman, but naked. No, I'm kidding. But that to me was, obviously not literally coming, besides literally coming together, but that was a huge blossoming, an important part from what I'm going to see of him, obviously sticking around. We know he's probably not going to go back to Florida after the events are happening. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad that it finally happened because the chemistry to me was there. I think they're super strong characters. I love the dynamic. I just, I'm glad that party scene happened. I'm trying to think of other things that happened because,
actually, you know what? I kind of did have a thought on that. We just kind of took the conversation a little bit away from like I always prepare like a few notes before we do these things, but I was thinking, I'm glad they got that out of the way early. And I think now you can explore an even deeper presence of their relationship than sort of like how some shows will have them like, whatever, get together in the last episode. And then we're like playing this like cat and mouse game the whole time. I think it plays to the maturity of the show. And I think that's going to be a strength going forward because now we can like see them actually act like adults in that. How do they respond to this? Was it just like a one-time thing? Where do they go from here while they're battling monsters and other things as we know, So I'm actually, I'm glad you kind of went there, man.
Like Hugh said, he hit it hard for the first time. And I mean, I wasn't watching my timer, but that was like some 1 minute man action right there, man. That's I was waiting for like a Power Stars level episode where you get to see that for like 10 minutes going on, But like going back to what you said, I think it does add to the story of we're going to start to care for them a little more, especially when they get into these situations together or even solo. I mean, obviously, if Letty gets in a situation where her life is being threatened, we're like, oh shit, where's that a kiss at? Like what's he gonna do, or vice versa, or even together, how are they gonna, and there's many monsters like you said to battle, literal monsters, and then braces police, braces just people in general, and it's it's a constant fight. It's a constant like wake up, and what am I going to take on today type of situation they're always getting in. So it's very interesting to me. That's the whole thing that's holding me to watch this show is it's very intriguing.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and I mean, if this from a literal sense, like they faced death in the last, I would assume so. From episode 2 and 3, they said it was 3 weeks, and then from episode 1 and 2, it was literally within a day. So they've been facing death in the last month within the chronological time of this show. So it's just like we might as well, like Chris said, stop playing this game of cat and mouse. We were attracted to each other. Tick's probably been attracted to her since they were little kids, and she was in the comic book world of society group that they were in. So it was just like a matter of, we don't know what's coming next. We've been haunted by ghosts. We've been chased by monsters. We just might as well just get it on, just in case we may not make it tomorrow. So I think, literally speaking, they don't know what's around the corner, so they might as well just show each other what they feel about each other.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna further strengthen their dynamic now going forward. Which, like I keep saying, the characters and specifically our two leads are like the main hook for me on this show. You know, watching them battle, sort of like whatever the week throws at them. It seems to be kind of the format of the show. So.
And just even going deeper in a sense of theories or maybe predictions. I mean, not to get too X-rated, but it seems, she could be maybe potentially pregnant after that scene. It was a quick moment, but Atticus does have
pregnant.
He does have a very interesting family history. So what would that mean with her having a potential baby of Atticus, and also her family history? Who is she connected to? Who's her origins? So there could be some type of earth-ending baby to fight against at the end. But who knows? Who knows?
That'd be cool.
Like a mother situation. You guys seen that movie?
Mm-hmm.
The Jennifer Lawrence one?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that, where the baby is like the key to it all.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Mother. Sorry, guys.
Who knows? But I guess another thing too is just, again, is that not behind the scenes, but someone playing behind the scenes and setting all this up is Christina. Again, we were told that Liddy was given heritage money from her mom, and we saw that beautiful scene between her and Ruby. But it was all Christina's making. Again, from the very first episode, she kidnapped Montrose. From the second episode, she gave Atticus the ring to destroy the portal and to potentially kill her father and the sons of Adam. And in this episode, she had the realtor have them buy that house, which, by the way, we saw the elevator go down to the last floor, which leads into this mysterious tunnel. So again, Christina, we got to keep an eye on her because she's kind of behind the scenes, the puppet master. So she's someone to keep an eye out for.
Okay, where do you guys think her intentions lie?
Well, I don't know, man. Again, she's
a big mystery.
Yeah, she seems to help out Atticus in desperate times, but at the same time, it seems like she's using him as well, again, to finally take out her dad. Because again, her dad didn't have a son; he had a daughter, and it wasn't the Adams, the sons of Adam. So I think that she is using him purposely, and at the same time, making it seem like she's helping him out, just to kind of distract him. As we know, which the title of episode 2 is called "Whitey's on the Moon." That whole spoken poem is about distraction. So yeah,
I totally agree. I'm on there on same wavelength as you. I think she's totally using him for all of them for her gain, just to get to the next wherever she needs to be. And I think she still holds a lot of resentment. I mean, she talked about in episode 2, how she's not, as a woman, she's not even allowed to be around the men when they're doing what they're doing. And I think she really holds a lot of resentment, being part of that family as well. Yeah. And I think that's going to play obviously more into some of the later episodes of her using Atticus or even Letitia, to get wherever she needs to get, and then finally, hey, I can just try to dispose of you guys if we can. I don't know if he might go Super Saiyan again and try to, there might be some crazy battle scene. I don't know. Yeah. But it'll be interesting. But yeah, I'm glad that they are keeping her a mystery, because she's the only character that's kind of like she pops up and I'm like, ooh, I'm just very like, the question mark above her head is like almost literally there for me every time I see her.
Right. And you know what? Like I said at the top of this podcast we're doing right now, this show has a lot of layers. And I think another, layer to her character is, while she is a part of like the privileged rich family, she's still a woman in this time period. And so I think she's kind of used to sort of accent that, and she is resentful. Like you said, she does wish she could be in those closed door meetings, but she's not, simply because of how she was born, And so that's why I don't know if I can trust her, because she still is a part of the family that is obviously, putting our main characters through hell, but she also does have some resentment towards them as well. So I'm kind of interested to see how she develops and where she goes. But right now, it wouldn't surprise me if she went either direction. I feel like I also still don't know enough about her yet as a character.
Yeah.
We haven't seen her a lot yet. We more so know her power in the scheme of things right now.
Mhm.
We know where she stands, but I don't know who she is behind that. And I'm curious to see where
Yeah.
that goes, because I think she is going to be a big part of it as the show
Yeah.
develops.
I mean, we've seen she has control of those monsters, with the whistle, and she's giving birth to these monsters. We see that she obviously has magical powers and spells, and I'm still a believer that, we've yet to see her and William in the same room. So we were talking about her maybe being resentment and not being a man. Maybe she Ada, or maybe she's William and William is her, and then that's something to maybe look into in future episodes as far as how she's able to use her powers. So yeah.
Dude, that's right. I totally forgot that she controlled the monsters.
Mhm.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because this show flies at a pretty fast pace, I would say. Was their family the ones who sent them after them in the first episode, or do we not know that? Those monsters at the end of the first episode? When they were in the woods and they're in that cabin and they're getting attacked?
I was under the assumption that they just happened to be out there when the monsters saw activity out there, and then she ended up, once they found out that the monsters were loose, they called them off. So I don't think that they necessarily, or I mean, to your point, Chris, they could have sent the monsters to kill the cops so they won't kill Atticus. So it could go either way.
See, that's what I'm thinking. I might just be reading into this a lot because, like, for the first time, my love for conspiracy theories is being interwoven into a show. So I might just be reading into that just because that's just me as a consumer of content. But I wouldn't say that those monsters happen to be in the woods just because they were looking for some food. You know what I mean? Like, I think they were there and sent there to do a specific job. It seemed too happenstance to me.
Yeah,
but.
I'm still to the belief that we might see Christina put Atticus under a spell where, like, right in front of Letitia, where she kind of forces herself on him and to disrupt what they have going on. At least that's what I would like to see, because if we're talking about spells, and I'm not really much into that too much, the wizardry. But if we were to see that, I'll be on my, the edge of my seat, like reality TV watching, like, ooh.
Well, I mean, that would, they are a family, though. I mean, and we know HBO doesn't shy away from incest with Jamie Lannister and Cersei, but I mean, Christina and Atticus are technically family. So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true.
True. This show, man.
Like, are they talking about like brother and sister, or brother?
No,
like,
it would be
distant brother.
It would be more like probably because. So Atticus's great grandmother was sleeping with Titus, and Titus got her pregnant, and that was, I believe. So I'm trying to think. It would probably be more like cousins, if anything. But I don't know. I gotta get like a family tree map or something to figure all that out.
Yeah.
But
some people would say that's okay.
Yeah, especially down south.
Wow. David, I feel like we're watching this show and wanting completely different things out of it. But hey, man, that's all right. I feel like this is the first show in a while, though, where like talking about like even just like bringing up the fact that you may or may not want to see a family tree comes into play, or you're questioning every single move made by every character. Like, I can't remember the last time, maybe not since Lost, that I was really like, maybe Game of Thrones more recently, really dissecting every single character's move. And I still don't know if I like this show or not yet.
I gotta show. Hey, watch Dark on Netflix, and you can run yourself into a wall trying to figure all that out.
All right, I do. That is on my list. I got to get there. I got to rewatch The Boys first, and then a few other things. But yeah, I don't know, guys. I'm kind of at my my wit's end with this show. I just think I need more. But so I guess closing thoughts. Yeah, you guys ready for that? If anyone has any other points, though, please bring them up.
No, I think.
I guess predictions for the next episode. I'm trying to think of what we saw a little bit of, other than, to me, Montrose. I want to see more of him, and I hope he comes into play. And I don't know. I'm trying to think of where they could jump. It's so unpredictable since it is like a more anthology. So I think we are going to get some tie-in with another creature or some kind of spirit or something that is HP Lovecrafty.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think of where do they go from here, since they are leaving such a big, a main setting of a huge house. It's hard to kind of predict that.
Do we know how many episodes
Was
Well,
it
it's
eight or
taking,
10?
season.
I believe it's 10. Yeah, it's
Okay.
10, and I believe next week's and again, full disclosure, I haven't seen the trailer for next week, but I do know the title of it is called A History of Violence. So, I don't know if we can play into if there's anything to look into within that title other than the word history, meaning that we can either go back to a flashback or there's some history of a particular character that has a string of outbursts or violence or things of that nature. So who knows, man? It's a new director too. Victoria Mooney is going to be directing it, so a brand new director on this one.
Or like he
Okay.
even said the actual historical value, like Emmett Till, he said they kind of implemented him in this episode. Maybe it might, have a callback to an actual murder that happened, and they tie that in there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Less than a week to find out.
Yeah. Elliot, any predictions going forward?
Outside of again, maybe something with Liddy and Atticus having their own love baby potentially. Montrose, what is the actual sequel? A lot of people are just assuming that Uncle George is the father, but maybe Uncle George just knows who is the father of Atticus, or if Atticus was maybe brought to life with magic potentially. He wasn't conceived in a natural manner, but outside of that, Uncle George, man, is he really dead? Is his spirit? Because that was another thing, that scene with the Ouija board with the whole George is dead. That was kind of weird for the ghost to say that, because we obviously Dee knew that he died. So I don't know if that was Uncle George trying to communicate to Dee, and if there's he died on, I guess, sacred ground. If is his spirit still out there somehow, some way. So, but either way, like you said, Chris, this is what makes a great show. Is just the thoughts, the theories, the predictions. So it's great, man. I love just theorizing about what could come next.
Right. Everything means something in this show. That's one thing I'm convinced of. The only thing I think is that the Freemasons, you don't just throw that name out there and skimp over it. That's I wouldn't be surprised if they try and tie that in with the overall, sort of social implications of the day as well. Because the Freemasons, I mean, they've been speculated about for years, and we do know that there historically has been secret societies. I mean, look at the Black Hand who killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand, started World War I.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we even hit that angle of it. And that's what I'm hoping to see, at least. I'm hoping you don't just throw that name out there and not pay it off. And I'm really hoping they do, because if not, then I'll be let down as someone who sort of finds good entertainment value out of conspiracy theory podcasts while I'm washing golf carts. So.
And it's making us, excited for Sundays again. I keep saying that I'm really pumped that we have a good show to kind of end the weekend before we start our long work week, right?
And it's, as Chris knows, it's the TV season, so we're just getting in the thick of things with shows. Even on HBO, I think they have a third day with Jude Law, and they have the new Luca Guadagnino show. We Are When We Were, something of that nature. You have HBO Max with Raised by Wolves. We have The Boys. So I mean, we're literally getting in the thick of things where it's just going to be like every other Friday, Sunday. Friday, Sunday is going to be hits after hits after hits. So it's a great time to be a TV fan.
Are you guys going to be covering Cobra Kai?
So me and David, we talked about this yesterday. I have yet to see season 1 or season 2, just because I was not going to pay YouTube to watch any original programs. But now that it's on Netflix, I'm going to try to figure out some way to fit it into the schedule. But because I hear it's great. So, yeah.
Phenomenal. And I know there's a lot slated for, it's been a pretty bad year as far as all entertainment goes, but I know we actually have a promising fall here for the most part. We'll see how these shows pan out. Yeah. But if you can wear Cobra Kai in there, I do think you will not be disappointed. So, and we'd love to have you on for our we're going to do a lot for Cobra Kai. We're getting pumped on it. So I got Dom hooked. He's loving it. And our episode comes out Wednesday, and we'd love to have you guys on when the new season comes out. So
yeah, next year. Yeah.
Cool, guys.
I have a Cobra Kai shirt too.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I ordered a hoodie. It was a little too hot to wear it today for the taping of our episode.
The stars are aligning, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man. Well, we're always collaborating and stuff, and I'm always grateful that you guys, especially last minute, I always feel bad calling someone out of nowhere, but I was like, I got to do this alone, or maybe I try and get people. I got to break that. I don't know how you guys do it, honestly, just talking in front of the camera. I got to break that fear, I mean, I was in a band for God's sake. Like I can take a stage. It's But so yeah, I appreciate you guys again, and this was a great time. I know we're kind of like technically co-streaming it, but still, this wasn't going to happen until like 3 hours ago. So I'm really glad you guys took some time out of your night to hang out with us, and I'd love to keep talking about this show as it continues to develop and progress with you guys. This was I got a lot out of this conversation. I got to check that podcast out, and now I'm going to go down the forum rabbit hole. So if you want to find me later tonight, see you guys on Reddit.
Nice.
But yeah, so David, starting with you, man, why don't you tell people where they can find you, what they can expect from you content-wise coming up, and everything that you want them to know about Flix Talk before we jump out of here.
Yeah, you guys can always find me on YouTube at Flix Talk, the spelled Flix Talk, as well as the same way spelled on Instagram, guys. I'm very, very easy to find. But on Twitter and Facebook, I am at Flix Talk Podcast. So once again, Flix Talk Podcast. And I'm going to start uploading. Didn't even let Elliot know, but I wanted to start uploading a lot of our longer podcasts, which we do weekly, the weekly wrap up on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m., just to Spotify, because I feel like a lot of people are letting me know in the chat or afterwards, like, oh, we didn't catch it, but we were kind of listening to it while we were, cleaning our house or doing our chores or doing laundry or whatever it is. And I feel like it needs to be just kind of just added into the world of, Spotify or Apple iTunes or whatever. So I think we're going to start implementing that for our next couple of longer podcast episodes or even maybe reviews. But I do movie reviews, guys, on there, as well as, a lot of lives. I was talking about it earlier on this stream, whether that be, just retro gaming. If you guys want to ask me anything, the floor is yours when it comes to things like that. I love talking to the cinephile community, as well as like vlogs out and about where I, talk just physical media content, whether it's DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks. I always love physical media talk. So things of that nature, you guys can follow me on YouTube and check that out for yourself.
Hell yeah, man. And you know what? You guys should put that on podcast form, because YouTube videos do not load at my job. So
okay.
I can't check it out while I'm working, and I'd like
I think
to
I want to
do
get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've checked it out a few times. I saw the classic mic bang or light bang incident. I forget, something dropped on one of those episodes.
Oh God.
I had watched. That was the one I caught.
Yeah, my cat, man. My cat must be the star.
I love your guys' chemistry together, man, and I'd love to see that out there in Apple and all those places. But
thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. And thanks again for coming on, David. And of course, last but certainly not least, Elliot, man. The channel has been crushing it lately. Congratulations times a million. So stoked for you and all that you do over on Movie Files. And just in case anyone doesn't know, I'm sure they do, but if they're not hip to it yet, why don't you tell everyone just what it is you do here on YouTube, man?
Yeah, hey man, Chris, David, it's always a pleasure, man, talking anything, movie shows, watch-alongs, all that fun stuff. So thank you, Chris, and it's always a pleasure, man. But yeah, man, Movie Files here on YouTube, man. I'm trying to the whole genesis behind my channel is not just focusing on one genre or one set of films or one particular TV show. It's to diversify the channel and to explore. Kind of tell people what's out there, right? Whether it be independent stuff like I'm doing with the Fantasia Film Festival, or whether it be shows that might go on the radar like Dark or Umbrella Academy. I try to have as many different opinions on as many things as possible, because I think what makes this community so unique is people get to interact with people that like the stuff that they like. So I always try to, even if I don't like it, I always try to share my opinion on something just to kind of get my voice out there, because that's important to be able to speak and have your voice out there and be heard is a very important human thing that we all should be able to do and feel comfortable doing. So with that being said, check me out on YouTube, guys, whether it is your movies, your TV shows, watch-alongs, and all that fun stuff. And yeah, this Friday, man, it's going to be the official 3-year anniversary that I created the channel. So I plan on doing some type of stream to celebrate that and to talk to the audience and talk to the community that I've been building so far and chat with them for a bit. So there's that to expect. There is the Ridley Scott show on Wednesday. There's The Boys on Friday, and there are plenty of films I'm going to be reviewing for the Fantasia Film Festival and hopefully Tenet. I'm not going to see that at theater, but I do have a drive-in about a half an hour from me. So I'm planning on checking that out potentially on Thursday. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, guys, find me on YouTube. And again, Chris, Dave, it's always a pleasure, guys.
Hell yeah, man. And that's cool. I'll be joining you for a little bit on Friday. That sounds like a good time, man. So guys, you know the deal.
Congratulations, by the way. Your channel is growing, and much
Oh,
success.
thank you, man.
on that.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, man. Couldn't think of anyone. Well, I mean, everyone we collaborate with is very deserving, but you are
100.
one of the
Yeah.
many people who I think really deserve it, and you work super hard. And I don't know how you cover all that you cover, honestly. I mean, Dom and I together can't put out as many videos as you
It's a
do all the
lot of
time.
scheduling, and it's always mapping out things like a weeks ahead to fit times to watch stuff. Yeah.
I'm convinced Elia is like the what's the boy's name in Umbrella Academy where he's jumping through time.
Oh,
He'll just-
5.
Yeah, you're
Number
like 5, and you'll be like, okay, the day's about to end. All right, let me jump back, record more content, boo, and then get it ready to load up for the next day.
I try, man. I try. It's a lot of fun.
So, guys, thank you for joining us, hanging out. This is something new we've been doing here on our channel, Talkin TV. We've been, like if we're watching a show, if we're putting in so much time with it, it's silly not to dissect it, especially a show this good. Dissect it week by week. If a show's giving you a lot, you got to give the show a lot in return. And we appreciate you being here on this sort of experimental series, but something that we kind of plan on making a staple here in the channel going forward. And while we're speaking about the channel, if anyone's been following us lately, and a few of you have, and we are quite thankful and do appreciate that a lot, it's no surprise that we've been experimenting, trying a few new things. David actually was a guest of ours on our first ever No NPCs Allowed. That was almost a spoiler. To another show that we have planned. No NPCs Allowed is a new gaming show that we launched. We're going to do about 1 episode a month where, us and the cinephile community talk about something that has cinematic qualities that I don't think gets talked about enough, except for when we wrote bad video game movies. So we're doing a lot on the channel, but we do have staples. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, you can check out podcasts. We talk about hot topics like Cobra Kai or The Boys, or to name a few of our upcoming schedule. We also cover movies like Palm Springs and Old Guard, and we also host watch-alongs on Fridays and even live random Q&As. We're trying to find our voice as a channel, and you guys have been sort of helping us do that. So again, from the bottom of our hearts, and I know I speak for Dom as well when I say this, this is our 6th month on YouTube, and I could not have asked for it to have gone any better. The fact that not only do we have a community of collaborators to hang out with, but people to come on and comment and watch and join and become a part of the live streaming experience, well, it really does mean a lot. So especially for someone who's had a lot of ups and downs in entertainment over the years. And I know you guys like, oh, Chris, you always say this. Well, I say it because I truly mean it. So thank you guys again so much. And as always, if you could be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on the bell for notifications, that would be greatly appreciated. And guys, we'll see you next Monday as we cover more Lovecraft Country. Stay safe, everyone. And thank you for hanging out with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.